everyone, today in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the YEYIAN Sigurd 4000 ultra-wide gaming monitor. I did receive this product from YEYIAN, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. This thing is beautiful and it's very massive at 34 inches. We have a 21:9 aspect ratio. I like the color scheme and branding on the box. Looks pretty sweet. And we have some quick tech specs for you right here. So this is a 2K ultra-wide gaming monitor. So the pixels are 3440 by 1440. We also have 1 millisecond response time. This is a curved display and it has adaptive sync technology. DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0. 165 hertz for the refresh rate. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. All right, it's time for a quick viewer intervention. Yes, I'm talking to you. No, don't look away. I'm talking to you right now. In the last 28 days, almost 40,000 of you have viewed the TV Chef channel, but only 98 of you have become a subscriber. So would you please consider clicking that subscribe button? Bonus points if you like, comment, and share our videos as well. If you don't like our videos, please give it a thumbs down, click that dislike button, and tell us why in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you either way. Also, bonus points for you if you want to share it with an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, a strange sibling, spouse. You get the idea. We'd be grateful for that as well. Here are all the contents, not including the monitor itself. We have our product literature right here, walking us through in multiple languages everything we need to know about our new monitor, from what's included, how to get the stand installed, how to get the mount installed if you want to mount this to a wall or something like that, how to make adjustments with the rotation, tilting, and height angles. We have our buttons and controls here, different indicators. Then they walk you through the OSD menu settings. Then we have QR codes with additional product information. Everything repeats again in multiple languages. They have their customer service and contact information on the back. Next, we have 3 hardware kits with screws for the stand and mounts. We have 1 included DisplayPort cable, 1 power cable here. We have our mounting bracket labeled up and down if that's the route you're going to go. And we also have the included stand in 2 pieces right here. That looks great. I like the design of this. And here's our base. It is metal, if you're wondering, with some plastic caps on the end pieces there. Now let's look at the monitor. Here's a look at the monitor from the back. You'll notice we have the YEYIAN logo and branding. Looks like we have some built-in lighting here. You can press this button to release the mount if you want to use your own stand and mount. You have that option right there. Down towards the bottom, we have some ventilation and grills. You'll also notice we have our labeled ports and connection options. So we have 2 HDMI ports, 2 display ports, and our audio port right there. While we're looking at it from this side, maybe we can get the whole thing in frame. Pretty close. We have all of our different menu and control buttons, some additional grills. Now you'll see it from the front. Yes, it's upside down, but no big deal. We have the YEYIAN logo and branding there, all of our icons and control options. I want to show you it from the top. Get a feel for the curvature right here, how thick the monitor is. Try to look at it from the side. Same thing, very similar right here. And now we'll tip it back around so you'll see it the correct orientation with their logo and branding front and center. Very slim bezel right here, the plastic along the sides and the top. And looking at it in this light, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I can see where the pixels end. So it's right at the tip of my finger right there, right at my thumb. Depending on the lighting, you might be able to tell. And that goes all the way around the sides, the top, and then just a smidge right to my fingertip there at the bottom. Now let's go ahead, let's get the stand installed. Stand installation, simple and straightforward. Just follow the instructions in the user guide and manual. Basically what we're gonna be doing is assembling these 2 pieces together and then attaching it to a piece to then snap on the back of the monitor. So take note of the 3 screws we have there and the 3 holes we have on here. And just gently line everything up and just rotate it. There we go. And then just turn it so it's snug. It's not going to be able to rotate anymore. And now at this point, you'll be able to take the included screw in this kit with our cable hook and holder and fasten it down in place. No tool needed for this screw. If you don't want, you can just use the built-in handle to get it nice and snug. But if you wanted to use a tool, you can use a flathead screwdriver. Next, we're going to take the included plastic clip, just line it up and gently slide everything in place. So now we have that all set and ready to go. The next step is to pop out the piece that we looked at earlier right here, and you'll notice we have 2 holes on it that'll line up with the 2 holes on the stand. So just like you see right there, that's how the pieces are going to look. Now you'll take 2 out of the included 3 screws and fasten them in place with a Phillips head screwdriver. All right, the 2 screws are fastened securely in place. Now we're just going to go ahead and line everything up and gently press down, and it'll snap in, and now we're ready to stand up the monitor. All right, so the monitor's standing upright. It looks so good. Let's go over the stand and the features that we have. So we can rotate it to the left and to the right. We have a fantastic swiveling option with this stand. It's one of the best swivels I've ever seen. It can just go so far both directions. We also have a height adjustment. This is the maximum height right here, and then we can show you the minimum height or somewhere in between. It supports its own weight. That's always great. But there's no rotation to be able to change it to a vertical or portrait viewing experience. You will be at the landscape viewing experience. In regards to tilt, there's really not much of a tilt down. That's our max tilt down, but we can tilt it back some. Let me show you that from the side. That's our max tilt back, and we have a slight tilt down. But man, this looks so good. I'll show you the back of it. I mean, take a look at that. Looks really, really good. All right, so we got the monitor plugged in, powered on, and connected to a desktop PC. Everything looks great so far, so let's bring up the menu. I'm not going to go over each individual setting, but I want to show you all the settings, and you can take a look at the layout. So first up, we have our input source, 2 DisplayPort, 2 HDMI ports, our brightness settings, our color settings. There is a low blue light option if you want to filter and change that. We have our picture quality settings, so sharpness, response time, noise reduction, super resolution, dynamic, luminous control, MPRT. Then we have our display settings. We have our audio settings. There are no built-in speakers, but there is that audio jack out if you wanted to connect external speakers. Multi-window mode, this is great. So we have picture-in-picture or picture-by-picture modes. OSD settings right here. And then we have some other settings that includes adaptive sync and HDR settings. You'll also notice we have our window settings down here. So DisplayPort 1, we have no additional input. And currently the resolution we're getting 3440 by 1440 at 165 Hertz. That is the max spec that we already have set up within Windows and our advanced display settings. So I wanted to spend a minute showing you guys within the color settings menu, the picture mode options that we have. So if we enter into it, we're currently showing standard right here. Now I want to show you what photo mode looks like. So pay attention to the changes in the picture here. So we'll go to the next option, movie. Lot brighter again. And then we'll go to game. Can you tell a difference there? FPS. And then we have RTS. And then we'll go back to standard. So I like standard by default, but just keep in mind you have all those different options depending on the type of media you're consuming or the game you're playing. Now we're looking at the UFO test. Keep in mind we have a camera pointed at a display, so it does not look as good as it does here in person, so you can take my experience and word for it, but I still wanted to show you nonetheless what we're working with here. Again, 1440p at 165 Hertz. It'll depend on your system and spec and what you're capable of pushing, but we have our UFO moving across the screen here at 3 different FPS values, 41 FPS at the bottom, 83 in the middle, and then 165 up at the top. So we double that FPS value every time, and it makes the UFO very, very smooth up at the top. It's not noticeable probably for you guys, but very blurry, fuzzy, and shaky at the bottom. There's still some blurriness in that second line, but that third line, even from the angle that I'm looking at off to the side on this VA curved panel, it looks so good. The alien and UFO is really, really clear. With that being said too, if you're wondering about that curvature, it's 1500R, which is a great angle and degree in my opinion for a curved display. So this is a black full screen up on the monitor right now. I shut off all the studio lights. I critically looked and investigated to see if we could find any sort of backlight bleeding. Typically with an ultra wide panel like this, you'll find it at, you know, the two, I'll call it like the third point. So if you divided this screen into thirds, it'd be this first line and the second line where you typically find some of that bleeding along the top and the bottom. And that's true in this case. For some reason, we had a hot spot on this particular panel in this corner up at the top versus what I'd say is your average that you'd see regardless of monitor. You'll typically have a little bit along the edges and the top. Not bad or noticeable at the sides. Just this particular spot on this particular panel, you could have a completely different experience. And for me, and probably you, it's not really a big deal. You have to be looking at basically a perfectly black screen in the pitch black. So if that's your use case for something like this, sure, that might bother you. But for the average person, you wouldn't ever even notice that. So I feel like that's a pretty nitpicky test. So they advertise 121% sRGB, and I thought we definitely have to put that to the test. Also want to point out this monitor supports 350 nits for your brightness. So if you're looking for a nice bright panel, look no further. I'm glad that we're above 300 here. But in regards to color accuracy, we're using display cal, and our gamut coverage for sRGB is 99.9%. That's fantastic. And our volume is actually 126.9%. So we exceeded the 121% that they're advertising. In regards to Adobe RGB, we're showing 82.3% coverage and 87.5% volume. And lastly, for DCI P3 coverage, 88.1%. And then for our volume, we're showing 89.9% for our DCI P3. So for you color accuracy snobs out there, let's talk about delta E for a minute. There's multiple delta E values, and basically the lower the delta E value, the more accurate the color is to its true hue. That's kind of the best way I could describe it to you guys. But for you color snobs out there, this is going to be some important data for you. I won't pretend to know exactly what you're going to do with this or what this means, besides if maybe you're like a Pixar animator or somebody along those lines. But basically our delta E 2000 value here, we're showing an average delta E of 0.39, so well within range. They want it less than 1. And then we're showing our maximum delta E of 0.93. That's less than 3. So I believe maybe 3 is noticeable to the naked human eye, and maybe under 3 you have to be trained. So keep that in mind. We're getting some really good and accurate colors with this panel. All those tests can get overwhelming, so let's just do a simple test browsing the web. I got YouTube pulled up right here, the popular trending page. Let's just scroll and get a feel for browsing the web, how fast, responsive, fluid scrolling is. It's really nice. Images look great too. Pick whatever video you want. Next, I got The Verge pulled up. Maybe you're not always just watching and consuming content. Maybe you want to be up to date on the latest news, things like that. This is just a popular tech blog. The articles, the embedded tweets, the images, everything is clear, crisp. Let's just click on this article. Pay attention to the colors, the images, the headers, all the different titles, the font, but it's very clear, very crisp, easy to read. And lastly, maybe you want to do some shopping on Amazon with the ultra wide. You may have noticed by now, most websites aren't optimized for all that extra screen real estate. But for a website like Amazon, you can actually see every tab now displayed. So that's a nice added benefit. But fluid, responsive, everything is working as you would expect. A very enjoyable experience, whether you're consuming media, you're staying up to date in the latest news, tech, things like that, or you want to do a little bit of shopping. Now let's take a look at the LEDs on the back of this monitor. Unfortunately, there's no RGB, so we can't change the color, but we do have the option to adjust within the menu setting what the light's able to do. So if we want it on, it's going to be our nice solid red. We can turn everything off, so now we have it off. Let's go back to it, and let's go ahead and turn it back on. And you'll notice this time, the final setting is we can actually get it to flicker. So we have the flashing in flicker right there. So you can choose flicker, solid, static red, or you can turn it off. It's input lag testing time. Keep in mind, input lag is different from response time. This monitor has a 1 millisecond response time. Input lag is going to be the amount of time, the difference, the latency between when a signal is sent and when it's displayed. So let's see what we get right here for our input lag. The lower the better. That's pretty good, showing 1.2 there. The middle value will increase. I believe this will be around 8 something. All right, 8.4. In the bottom one, let's see, it'll be around 16, give or take. I can't read it. Oh, 15.7. All right, so we're looking at input lag around 1.2. That's well within range. Great to see it at that level. Like I said, lower the better, but you don't really get much lower than like, I don't know, 0.8 from what we've seen. So you wouldn't notice any difference, and it's great that it's that low. All right, it's time to talk about gaming. First up, you'll see some Forza 5 footage up on the display, and man, it looks really good. I'm not sure when I'm looking at the samples. Again, we have a camera pointed on a monitor. It just doesn't always translate to how good it looks in person, but the movement and motion, very fluid. 1440p, we're getting around 100 FPS right now. That's with the 3080 Ti. So we have adaptive sync technology that works with both AMD FreeSync and NVIDIA G-Sync. So they have you covered, whatever team that you're on. But this is what you can expect if you have a system powerful enough to push your game to the limits to take advantage of the higher resolution and the higher refresh rate. You'll appreciate driving games, anything where you want to have those higher FPS values to give you that smoother footage and hopefully a slight competitive advantage. Also, we can't forget there's HDR support, HDR 400, if that's something you're interested in enabling, depending on, again, the content you're consuming and your own viewing preferences. Now we're looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We'll just go through a couple of seconds here of some gameplay footage. Rocking out our 21:9 aspect ratio at 1440p. Again, you'll see similar or different results depending on your system and what it's capable of pushing. Hopefully you see even better results than we have right here, but get a feel for the colors. And we just have it in the standard color setting still. The movement, the motion. Look at the smoke, the water here, the reflections. Contrast of the colors. All right, we got our guy in the boat. He's fishing. Clouds in the sky. Again, the contrast between everything. Have a critical eye at it and see if you like how everything looks. We got our pan back to the city and the ruins with some smoke rising. Pretty cool. Looks really nice to me. And now we got Borderlands 3 footage up. Same thing, 1440p, 21:9 aspect ratio, getting around 100 FPS right now with our 165 Hertz refresh rate enabled. Level looks nice. No glaring issues in any of the games we've tried out. Look at the characters. Pay attention to the explosions, some of the fire. You get the idea. Maybe compare your experience with your current monitor playing this game and how this one looks. Giving it some grace because we have a camera on a display here. Cue the slime explosions. All right, there's the toxic barrel. What's going to happen here? No, the slime exploded. The explosions, the flashbangs. Pretty immersive experience, especially if you're close to it, right? And it's kind of encompassing your whole field of view. Have no fear, I got you next-gen console gamers as well. We have a PlayStation 5 hooked up and connected. Here's our current output information, 2560 by 1440 at 60 hertz. But I want you to know that this does support 120 hertz. I did try it out. So we have our 120 hertz output right here. Just make sure you have it set to automatic. And if you have a game that supports it, you'll be able to get it with this monitor as well. Same for the resolution. We have a couple different options here. You can set it to whatever one you would like. But in our case, I did test 1440p. You can test it right here, and it works at both 60 and 120. I didn't forget about you Xbox people either. I have the Xbox Series X plugged in, connected. We're looking at our general settings, specifically the TV and display options. We're showing we're getting 1440p at 120 hertz for the refresh rate. Everything is working great, as you would expect with the Xbox Series X. So now here are my final thoughts in regards to this YEYIAN 34-inch gaming monitor. This is really made for gamers. They do a fantastic job giving us amazing performance at a price point that you really just can't beat on the market today. LG has some comparable monitors that cost almost twice as much as this monitor. I found one cheap Samsung monitor, but it's 4 milliseconds and it's 75 hertz. So it's not really a gaming monitor. That one's more of just having extended desktop for better productivity, spreadsheets, coding, things like that. So at this price point, this is a really solid choice. And this being a VA panel helps keep that cost lower, but I can't believe how good the colors look on this panel. I'm really surprised by that. So overall, enjoyable experience, gaming, streaming, content creating, whatever you want to do on this monitor, whether it's your PC or you have next-gen consoles connected, you'll enjoy the experience. But there are some things I'd like to see changed or improved in the future. It really has to do with the stand and not having built-in speakers. I'd love to have some built-in speakers, even if they're 1 or 2 watt speakers and they don't sound that good. I'd always rather have them and not need them than not have them. And in regards to the stand, they get it right with the height adjustment. I've never seen a stand that offers better swiveling than this one with the rotation, but I wish we had the ability to rotate it 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and do a portrait and vertical viewing experience. That's definitely a miss with this one, but they give you the VESA mount option, so you can use and bring your own stand, and technically you'll be able to do that then, depending on the stand that you choose. So I'm glad we still have the freedom and flexibility to not be tied down to this stand, and the stand they give us right out of the box will be good enough for most people, because chances are you're probably not doing any sort of vertical viewing with this, but if you wanted to have like stream chat on it, or a really long spreadsheet, that's where that would be ideal to have that maybe in your setup off to the side with maybe 2 more monitors, things like that. But overall, great VA panel, love the colors, the performance is there. So if you're looking for some 1440p ultra wide gaming, be sure to check this monitor out.